Hello, and welcome back to Historical and Impossible Today. We have a truly bizarre story for you. It's a tale of warfare, feathered foes, and a bunch of determined Australians. I'm talking about the infamous EMU War that took place in Australia in the 1930s. So grab your binoculars because things are about to get wild. Before we dive into the chaos of the EMU War, let's set the stage. Following World War I, large numbers of discharged veterans who served in the war were given land by the Australian government to take up farming within Western Australia, often in agriculturally marginal areas. With the onset of the Great Depression in 1929, these farmers were encouraged to increase their wheat crops, with the government promising and failing to deliver assistance in the form of subsidies. In spite of the recommendations and the promised subsidies, wheat prices continued to fall. And by October 1932, matters were becoming intense, with the farmers preparing to harvest the season's crop while simultaneously threatening to refuse to deliver the wheat. The difficulties facing farmers were increased by the arrival of as many as 20,000 EMUs. EMUS regularly migrate after their breeding season, heading to the coast from the inland regions. With the cleared land and additional water supplies being made available for livestock by the Western Australian farmers, the EMUs found that the cultivated lands were good habitat, and they began to foray into farm territory, in particular the marginal farming land around Chandler and Walgoolan. The EMUs consumed and spoiled the crops and left large gaps in fences where rabbits could enter and cause further problems. It's the year 1932, and Australia is dealing with a unique problem. Thousands of EMUs, large flightless birds, are invading the farmlands of Western Australia. These birds are known for their speed, endurance, and an appetite for destruction. So, why were emus causing so much trouble? Well, these feathered critters were descending upon the crops, eating and trampling over everything in their path. On average, an adult emu can consume anywhere from 1 to 2 kilograms of food per day. However, during certain periods or when food is scarce, they may consume more. Farmers were facing financial ruin, and they needed help. In response to this EMU invasion, the Australian government decided to take action. They deployed 2 groups of soldiers armed with Lewis machine guns to combat the feathered menace. It might sound like overkill, but let's see how it played out. On the 2nd of November, the men traveled to Campion, where some 50 EMUs were sighted. As the birds were out of range of the guns, the local settlers attempted to herd the emus into an ambush. But the birds split into small groups and ran so that they were difficult to target. The soldiers quickly discovered that emus are incredibly agile and hard to hit. Nevertheless, while the first fusillade from the machine guns was ineffective due to the range, a second round of gunfire was able to kill a number of birds. Later the same day, a small flock was encountered, and perhaps a dozen birds were killed. The emus proved to be elusive foes, and the soldiers' efforts were in vain. Not willing to admit defeat, the government tried again. This time, they sent in more soldiers and even provided more ammunition. The next significant event was on the 4th of November. Meredith had established an ambush near a local dam, and more than 1,000 EMUs were spotted heading towards their position. This time, the gunners waited until the birds were in close proximity before opening fire. The gun jammed after only 12 birds were killed and the remainder scattered. The EMUs outwitted the humans. It was a battle of wits, and the emus seemed to have the upper wing. In the end, the EMU War became a national embarrassment. The soldiers were recalled, and the emus continued their reign of terror on the farmlands. So, what happened to the emus? Well, nature eventually took its course, and the emus moved on to other areas. But the EMU War remains a quirky and unforgettable chapter in Australian history. Sometimes, even the most well-intentioned plans can go awry, and the EMU War is a testament to that. It's a reminder that nature can be unpredictable, and that we should always approach problem solving with a dose of humility and humor. If you enjoyed this bizarre tale of the EMU War, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more unique stories, and share this video with your fellow history enthusiasts. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the weird and wonderful corners of our world.